Hello class. Today we will be discussing about a regional variation in population, that is population growth. So last class we discussed about growth rate, that is population growth rate. We discussed as a change in number of population is defined as the growth rate given at 2 points of time. Say for example, we can consider the last census and this coming census, that is 2021. The population accounted in 2011 and population accounted on 2021, or that will be accounted on 2021. The difference in those numbers will be accounted to as growth rate, but the difference will be calculated in terms of percentage. India's growth rate overall, that is the whole country, has a growth rate of 17.64% as per 2001-2011 census. So this average growth rate for the whole of the country, what we see is that some states have higher the growth rate than the average growth rate of the country. Some state has lesser than that. There are many factors and many reasons that has affected the growth rate of the states. The factors are almost the same as like that of the distribution of population and density. The factors, in fact, that affects the distribution and density of population affects the growth rate of that particular region. If we see in terms of growth rate, Meghalaya as a state records the highest growth rate with 27.82%, while Nagaland records the lowest with minus 0.47%. While among the Union Territories, Dadra and Nagar Haveli records 55.5%, while Andamans and Nicobar records 6.68% respectively. So this is the growth rate or growth percentage of population of different states. I have considered to the highest and the lowest. But when we see as a whole of India, there has been in recent times a declining trend in the growth rate as a whole. When we consider India, there has been a declining growth rate usually after 1981. That is what has been witnessed. It is mostly because the people now are much more conscious and they think towards their betterment or their better life. So considering that a large family usually is considered to not have a prosperous lifestyle than as compared to a smaller family. So people now have opted mostly to smaller families. This also is because of literacy and the educations that India has been providing to her citizens. This rising population trend that we see in India, though the growth rate seems to be declining, this rising population, or we can even consider it to be as population explosion, has various effects on the social, economic, and as well as, in fact, most importantly on the environment. So here we will discuss as a part of, as implication of population growth for development in the sectors of economy or social lifestyle or even the environment. In fact, so to say, in today's time or in today's generation where we get to see lot changes happening in the environment, these changes are mostly because of the rising population, not just in the country but in the entire world. Population are rising at a very fast rate, which is affecting, in fact we can say it's hampering the environment. With the rising number of population, it is obvious that the food demand is to be increased, the health facilities is to be increased, even the education facilities, and apart from that, there are a lot of infrastructural facilities that are to be provided to each and every citizens. The country tries to provide such. While trying to provide so many of the facilities or the benefits to the population of a country, we forget that the environment is very badly been hampered. So let us now try and understand that what are the implications of this rising population on the environment. We shall now discuss the impact of population increase and its effect on environmental degradation. What we see nowadays because of rising population is that the resources that are available, in fact the natural resources that are available, are overexploited. So like soil, water, air, mineral resources, in fact, they are all overexploited. In lieu of developmental progress, like I said, we have forgotten the environmental effect. This is where we get to see, because the natural resources now are overburdened by the rising population. If we see, in order to meet the food demands of millions of population in India, the land available for agricultural practice are put under continuous use. So continuous utilizations of land obviously will put pressure on that very land, and ultimately what happens is the crop production starts lowering down, or there is a decrease in the production of crops. And why will it not be? Because we see India's population is almost 18% of the world's population. But the land available of the whole world is only 2.4%. So that means the 17.5% of total population of the world survives on a land of 2.4%. And this 2.4% is not a sufficient land for the 17.5% of population. The food demands that the 17.5% of population does. In fact, when we see of the country, 121 crore of population as per 2011 census, we see 121 crores of population to meet the food requirements of these many population is not a joke. It becomes a matter of serious concern because the available land for agricultural practice is very less. So the same land is put under rigorous use to produce a lot of food production. So there it becomes a huge effect on the environment. This is just about the land. The same people will be using a lot amount of water, and nowadays we talk about industrializations and development. In lieu of industrializations and development, many forests have been cut down. In fact, you'll find in states of Uttarakhand, even some other places in India, the land to be provided as an agricultural land, forests are cleared. So this will obviously affect the environment. In fact, it is not actually hampering the environment because it will come back to us. It will come back to we people. When we give too much to the environment, which becomes unbearable to hold it, it returns back to us in form of various natural calamities. So, in India, population explosion and poverty becomes these two factors becomes a major concern of environmental degradation. How poverty? Poverty will lead to rise in the slums. There will be lot dwellings of slums, and they will be affecting the environment. Dirts everywhere, garbages everywhere. So these will result in land pollution, air pollution, at the same time also water pollution. So there is a high risk of this pollution, these pollutants to be added in the air, which will result in air, water and land pollution. Population increase and ecological imbalance. Ecology. In a very common word, we say the relationship that we share with our environment. We have our own environment, to that environment we survive. Say for example, we live in India and India is not very cold. India is not a very cold country. So here mostly cotton clothes are required than as compared to warmer clothes. But if you go to Antarctica or if you go to very cold places, there will be needing more of the warmer clothes than as compared to the cotton clothes. This is how we react with our environment, or this is how we are related to environment. Food habits, houses built, the clothing senses, our cultures, everything is an impact of the environment, our immediate environment that we have. This is to what we call ecology, a science that studies the interrelationship between the living organism and their environment. And this ecology is hampered. This house of our own is hampered, as ecology from a Greek word derived from a Greek word oikos, which means house. This house of ours is hampered. So this creates a lot of problem to us. So what we see? Natural resources or nature is present in its live form. But we, man, in sake of development, we have started interfering the nature. When we interfere the nature, imbalance is created. Imbalance is created because of excessive pressure, overpopulation in fact, or population explosion that we can see. Now the only need that we have to think of at this point of time is mostly with conservation. Because the population explosion cannot be stopped. It can be controlled but cannot be stopped. So the only method that we follow with the controlled population of present generation is to conserve the resources whatever is available, or we can in other words say we will utilize the resource but in much judicious manner. This will help conserve and preserve some of the resources for future prospectus, and thereafter the environment can also be saved, and there a balance can be maintained between our own relationship, between us and our own environment. So I hope it is not just the chapter that we are learning, but also as a human we need to understand that we as human, what can we do to support our environment, to save our environment. It is for people like you, like us, to think over that what we can do to conserve our environment. Because the picture is clear. We are degrading the environment. We are creating an imbalance. So how can it be resolved? It is not we cannot. We can resolve. We have to try to resolve. For the future earth to still be the same what we see the earth now. Thank you class. You all have a good time.